Welcome back to Martins and More. My name's Maury Rutch.
And I'm Spoon Phillips.
And today we have a smorgasbord of topics to talk about. Maybe you want to call it potluck. Maybe, is there another big long word you could think of, Spoon, that would really do justice to what we're going to talk about on today's program?
A sparkly rainbow of cascading cavalcade of topics.
Couldn't have said it better. We're going to talk about more than one thing. This is one of those episodes we can take advantage of, one of those times where you guys might have asked us about a question. We can address that today. We can talk about topics like, the Martin OM-18 is back in stock at Maurysmusic. We can talk about the new Backstage From the Cage show. Martin has a Backstage program. They've put out 2 or 3 more episodes of From the Cage since we last told you about that, and lots more. So please stay with us. And if we're very careful, we'll even get to an episode of 20 questions because we missed the opportunity last week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We got too busy, too gabby. Next thing you know, it was time to go.
Yeah, that rhymes. Spoon, I'll let you pick the second topic if you'll indulge me and let me talk about the brand new, exciting OM-18 that's finally back in stock after all these years.
If you allow me to say, well, it's about time.
The OM-18, I know it's a guitar that's near and dear to your heart, and let's just cut to the chase. I know you actually, I don't know if you had him in a headlock or if it was a casual conversation, but you did tell me one time you were telling Chris Martin that this guitar needs to come back. Is this 2024 version of the OM-18 exclusive to Maurysmusic, is that why this happened?
No. Well, maybe. I mean, you would know more than I would, but since you brought it up, yes, there a long ago, in fact, the very first, what we now call Martin Fest, a bunch of people got to have lunch with Chris Martin in his boardroom. I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I came in later on and was there for him having an impromptu talk with a bunch of us, and maybe like 15, 20 people by the time he gave his impromptu speech and conversation, and gave me an opportunity to give him a CD of a song that I had written called The Disciple, about that was inspired by the idea of someone back in the days of the Erie Canal and the great canals going to the Mississippi, of coming from far away to seek out Mr. Martin in mythical Nazareth, Pennsylvania, to build him a guitar and all that stuff. And after we were all done, and he sat there in his office for a long time signing the inside of people's guitars, he was finally done and exhausted, and I was haunting his office, and I was the last one to leave, and I turned around and I said, I wanted to thank you for introducing the OM-18V. I said, I bought the first one that came to New York City, and prior to that I had owned a Collings, a mahogany OM, and a Bourgeois OM, which I both sold. And I said, you should really think about bringing back the standard OM-18. And he looked a little skeptical, and I said, it's, with the modern neck and the long scale, and he looked thoughtful and like he appreciated what I said. And of course, then we never saw the OM-18, except extremely briefly, many years later. So if in some small way I inspired Maurysmusic to occasionally offer batches of custom OM-18s, I'm greatly flattered.
Well, I mean, it's true. You and I talked at length over a lot of episodes about which guitars belong where, and it wasn't that long ago. We talked about certain models in the Martin lineup have been around, but they don't last. Just take a look at the standard series. You can buy a 0018, a 0018, and you can't buy an OM-18, but if you go to the Rosewood side, you do have the 0028, the 0028, and an OM-28. And without making this a lot longer just to fill up time, why is it that the 00s you can buy either one, the 00 you can buy either one? It's probably something we really can't answer. Why would they not do an OM-18? Since we couldn't answer that, we decided to order it, and we talked about doing that, threatened to do that, made it public on a couple of our other YouTube programs, and we got enough of a reaction that I figured even if we only order 10 of them and bring a couple at a time, even if it's not the big hit where they all 10 of them sell at the same time, or they don't all sell on a pre-order, if we do very well with the OM-28, why not give it a try? So what we did was, and I'm not sure if you got to see the specs yet, the only two differences we made is the fact that it's a long scale instrument and it's got the OM pickguard. Everything else about the tripolo was already great, and in recent times they actually made it scallop bracing and a 1 3/4 inch nut. So some of the work was already done for us. You'd have to go back in time pretty far to find a 1 11/16 tripolo 18 with non-scallop bracing. Maybe that's a good trivia question. Can you answer that for us at the end of the program? When the last time was that the tripolo 18 was a narrow neck, straight braced?
One of the interesting things about this is since the OMs were reintroduced originally in 1969, but really didn't get into the catalog until 1990, they were made with 1/4 inch bracing, where the tripolos were 5 16th inch bracing, and this 1/4 inch bracing has been around, until you expect an OM to have 1/4 inch bracing, and the tripolos had the 5 16th inch bracing, except for the reimagined tripolo 18, which has scalloped 1/4 inch bracing, and so in other words, this is what I would consider a true traditional OM-18 because it has the 1/4 inch bracing in addition to the 1 3/4 inch nut. Now these widths, so this is still the high performance neck with the 2 1/8 inch and the 2 5/32 string spacing. Is that correct?
Yep.
So it's a modern OM, similar to the OM-42 and the OM-28 that is currently available in the Martin catalog. And so I think it's a great idea. For those who are not that familiar with the difference between the OM, the orchestra model, and the tripolo or triple knot, it's these days it is literally the scale is different, and so when you get into longer scale, the body size is exactly the same. And in the case of the 18s, and with this custom versus the tripolo, you got the same bracing size. So it is all about the extra string tension, and the extra room between the frets. When you get up in the higher frets, you have more room between those frets. It's a little easier to play up near the body on an OM, in my opinion. But that string tension injects more energy into the soundboard, so you get, in my opinion, a bigger voice out of what is essentially the same guitar. And more powerful, more headroom, doesn't overdrive as quickly when you're strumming hard, and it's what I call the tone bubble, that OM tone bubble, where it seems like it's radiating in all directions, where tripolos tend to be more, to my ear, more focused and forward shooting. So bully for you for bringing back the OM-18.
Well, thank you. I thought you might like the idea, and here's hoping we find enough people to actually make it worth our while, but we are very, very glad to revive it. And before we go too far into this podcast, why don't we take a break and listen to a sound sample of the Martin OM-18. And we're back. What do you think of that, Spoon?
Well, I thought it sounded nice and full. I didn't mention bass response, but some people feel that the OM gives you at least a throw to your bottom end, if not truly more bass response than a tripolo, but that's what it sounds like to me.
And I don't want to give too much away, but I did a comparison between the OM-21 and the OM-18, and I'll tell you the truth, there are times I'm not exactly sure which one I'm hearing. I'll just leave it at that.
That's interesting. Well, they have this material that you can put in to clear out that earwax, and You can get it at your local pharmacy. For our folks at home, Maury is playing with a Q-tip.
So why don't we put a cap on the OM-18 talk, except to say if you want more information, please contact us back channel. And we're on to the second topic of our smorgasbord cavalcade, whatever Spoon called it earlier. We have more stuff to talk about is what I'm trying to say.
We've done some blabbing about the Martin NAMM offerings in other podcasts. So I would just like to talk about some things that I thought was interesting from this NAMM that's non-Martin related. First of all, and really from their two major competitors, I'll just stick with some of the stuff that Gibson was offering in the acoustic guitar world and Taylor. This, of course, is Taylor's 50th anniversary. So they have a speaking of a sparkling rainbow of, cascading cavalcade of instruments. They have a variety of 50th anniversary instruments at different price points. Their main ones, their real anniversary models, are all done in size 14, which equates to Martin's Grand Performance, the GPC size, and of some really interesting tonewood combinations. There is one in the 300 series. There's one, I don't remember which are in which series necessarily. There's one in the 800 series that has a lot of bells and whistles. That's Indian rosewood and Sinker redwood top, Californian Sinker redwood. And there is one with sapelli back and sides and a torrefied citrus spruce top. There is one that's made in the species of eucalyptus that's got a bunch of different names, but Taylor has chosen to refer to it as urban ironbark, I think is what they're calling it. And it's basically a species of eucalyptus that was transplanted from Australia, like in the beginning of California in the United States in the 1850s, and is now abundant in California as a domestic hardwood. And don't be surprised if we don't see it on Martins now with their new Inception series heading into trying to develop an interest and a market for homegrown hardwoods that can be used to make acoustic guitars. They also have a walnut model in Taylor, and they're all much fancier in terms of the trim, and so you guys may want to check those out. They've Taylor 50th anniversary models, and I'm looking forward to seeing them eventually in stores in New York and getting a chance to see what it sounds like. Many years ago, Maurysmusic made that store, rest in peace, that was on 48th Street, had ordered D28s with redwood tops, and it's the only time I've ever seen that I can remember redwood being on a Martin, but that was many years ago, so I honestly don't remember what they sounded like. But and then on the other side from Gibson, Gibson has what they're calling their Ebony series, I think is what they're referring to them. But basically they are their classic models, the SJ200, the J45, and that Hummingbird they're using for their square-shouldered jumbo or dreadnought, that Gibson had come out originally to compete directly against the Martin dreadnoughts, and then also their songwriter model, a songwriter model that they came out with to, kind of compete against Taylor large bodies. All of them have ebony fingerboard and bridges, and all of them have gloss black finishes with white trim. So they're very, very Johnny Cash-ish looking, and I'm, they'll be around for a while. You know what Gibson is like. A lot of these models come and go. They definitely like to limit them, so I'm not sure how long these models will be in service or available. But I thought of the stuff that I did see in terms of the acoustic guitar world, those were the ones that I was most interested in seeing and playing as soon as possible. But what did you see out there in NAMM land?
Well, the one thing that really struck my interest more than anything else was LR Baggs. Last year, or at least last summer, it might have been almost a year ago, they came out with a hi-fi pickup, which is pretty similar to the Trance Audio in the fact that it's 2 shoebox little sensors, lives on the bridge plate, and they finally added a microphone to that system. I think it's called the Duet. Clearly, I'm not excited enough to know what the names are, but I know that you can buy a system now from them that pairs a microphone with that bridge plate sound, and it's supposed to be that last little puzzle piece that makes a bridge plate sound even a little bit more airy, microphone-like. And you've heard me talk a lot of times about this subject. Just 5 or 10% of a microphone's sound inside a guitar's cavity could really be all the difference, and I would doubt that you need to turn it up all the way or have 50-50 blend or, God forbid, all microphone and no bridge plate sound. But it's the new LR Bag system that I'd like to hear. I'm so slow on the draw that I was going to get a copy of the original system through them 5, 6, 7 months ago, and then over the summer I thought it's been too long. Let me go make the necessary call. I got busy, so now when I finally do get a chance to try the new system, I'm pretty clear that when you do install the one that has the microphone, you can turn the microphone 100% off anyway, so it's the best of both worlds. But that's the one thing. I'm not necessarily keeping tabs on Gibson and Taylor. Now that you said what you did, I would like to go and check out those Taylors. Sound pretty interesting to me. But it's the LR Baggs Duet, Hi-Fi Duet, 2024 version of the Hi-Fi is how I'll say it on this show. I might come back here later and edit this segment and say it correctly, but that's the one that makes me think that I would want to try it. And I'm always, I'm really, really happy with the Trance Audio sound, but I'm always looking for what's better. That's how I found Trance. I found K&K before that, and it all goes backwards from the never-ending search. So that's the one thing that the NAMM videos that I've seen has caught me from scrolling past it on my phone. When I saw it, I stopped and watched, if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely. Baggs has been very important in pushing the envelope and creating competition for innovative acoustic guitar amplification technology, going back to when they were experimenting with the magnet sound holes, the things that go under the saddle, of course, the bridge plate pickups, a slew of them, and some people are huge Baggs fans. Always the latest and greatest. They're big on having celebrity testers. Bonnie Raitt and Jackson Browne helped develop some of their pickups over the years. And I have not heard this new hi-fi, but I've seen a lot of postings about it, about people who are saying, this is the total game changer. I'm old enough, that I heard this for so many decades by various pickup systems that I'm glad, that people continue to move forward with this. Conversely, the new Aura HD stuff has been tweaked yet again, so that's new for 2024 in some of the new Martin models. So, the more the merrier in terms of trying to improve amplified acoustic guitar sound. When it comes to acoustic guitars, they all sound like pickups to me. So it's really more a matter of, well, is it pleasant? Is it not harsh? Is it not, if it doesn't sound bad, I'm happy with it. I think most people are used to the sound of plugged-in acoustic guitars enough that no one's really expecting it to sound exactly like a acoustic guitar, even though they keep claiming it does. And but on the electric guitar scene, I think the thing I thought was coolest, there's an Epiphone Dave Grohl model that came out that looks really cool. It's got like a gray silver, almost like a car, almost like a Rolls-Royce car silver finish. That's
like my car.
It's based, like your car, based around inspired certainly by the Gibson ES335, but it's got a goose head, what I always called as a kid, but the sort of Fender Strat looking head on it with the tuners all on one side, but a hollow, semi-hollow body similar to ES335. And so I'm really curious. I'm curious to know the story behind that. I'm curious to know if he was actually involved, if this was something, or if this is, more, if he had any involvement at all. I guess it's neither here nor there whether it comes to Celebrity Association, but it looked really cool, and I'm sure that would be a lot of fun to play, if not own. So that was one of the electrics that really stood out to me as not only that, it's not very expensive, so it's an Epiphone, it's made in Asia, and would certainly be good looking, which does matter to a lot of people when it comes to being on stage.
Well, if we're allowed to talk about electric guitars, I want to add an answer and say Reverend has some new cool stuff I got to see. We used to carry that brand, and it didn't really work that well for us as far as sales, but that has nothing to do with what I think of them as a player, and I really, really love the Reverends that I own. Ken and company had a really good showing. They had a pretty big booth, and I can't really remember a lot of the new model names, but it was new enough. It wasn't just new colors. It was like another Billy Corgan. I think there's another Pete Anderson Telecaster style, but there was a good rundown of the entire booth, and they had a big showing. So I'm not shopping for a guitar right now, but if I was, I do have a Fender Strat that Lori got me for my 40th birthday, and I'm really like locked into that I don't need one. But when my eye does wander, I seem to wander towards Reverend guitars when I see them online. And just to circle back way back in this podcast, maybe 10 minutes ago, if you guys are watching and following along on the YouTube version of this podcast, please let me know in the comments. When Spoon quickly said Taylor's 50th, did you think he said Taylor Swiftieth? Because I thought he did.
Well, we're actually recording this episode virtually on the eve of the Super Bowl, so we may have to throw out our predictions at the end of this. When I mean throw them out, I mean because they're probably gonna smell pretty bad, but by the time we throw them out. Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned Fender. That Fender had came out with a crop of guitars too, and so they're various Strats and the like that have some interesting looking woods and stuff like that I really haven't delved into yet. But there was certainly a pretty big crop of interesting guitars, both acoustic and electric, this year at all sorts of price points. So, but my head has of course been mainly into Martin because I ran into technical problems with all of my stuff, and so I've been greatly set back and like two weeks late on getting my own one man's guitar stuff up about the Martin NAMMs, let alone all the other stuff. But they're coming along, and they'll be out pretty soon. By the time people hear this, they'll probably already a lot of that stuff will already be online. But I certainly enjoyed the new Martins, and looking forward to seeing how well they are received once they're out in the world. And I know there was a bunch of interesting pedals out there, too. I know that Jack White's got a deal with, I don't remember which company it is, but there's some pedals that were designed either by or in conjunction with Jack White that people may want to check out. That looked pretty cool. And I think even maybe an amp or two that he had a hand in. So yes, another NAMM has come and gone, and we could probably sit here and name at least 20 brands that had new stuff coming out. But since we missed 20 questions last week, maybe we should stick that in here now before it gets too much later on in the show.
20 questions. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, it's my turn to ask you what kind of guitar you're thinking. Am I right when I say that?
I believe that's correct. We can certainly go with that. I don't know who's keeping score out there with your little chalkboard of just how many times Spoon, the wise guy, has managed to stump the smart guy and vice versa. But
at least twice.
I am going to try to do so again. I'm going to think up a Martin guitar that is available for sale out in the world today and see if, am I going to throw a slow ball by him like Bugs Bunny in that famous cartoon where the guy was going, 1, 2, 3, you're out. 1, 2, 3, you're out. 1, 2, 3, you're out. And he strikes out a side on one very slow ball. Or am I going to have to get a real curveball in here And or since we are talking about the famous Maury Rutch, a screwball might actually be in line or out of line as screwballs are. So that has allowed me enough time to actually think of a model that is now available for sale out there in the world from Martin. And I am going to allow Maury Rutch 20 questions to guess which model that is. And I'm going to give him up to 3 model choices, but each one of those choices counts as a guess. So 20 questions are on the clock.
I'll keep going right here, but I just remembered it's your turn. But does it matter? I just remembered. But do you care?
Well, I've got one now stored up for next time.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So everything he said, but reversed polarity. 20
Strike
questions
that.
on the clock.
Reverse it.
20 questions on the clock for you. Go.
Is this guitar a custom OM made in 18 styling?
Damn it. The way that happened, I didn't have time to think of one, so I just thought of the one we just talked about because you had told me more than 2 or 3 times we would never do that together, and then we would, and then we wouldn't. And the way this landed today, I thought you'll really never think of that. God. Congratulations.
Well, that makes up for last week. So now it's your turn to get 20 questions to guess the guitar that I had in mind.
All right. Wow.
20 questions are on the clock.
Is this guitar a custom shop?
No, that's one question.
For a split second, I really did think you were going to do it to me and repeat that same guitar. Is this guitar made in Nazareth?
No, that is 2 questions.
Is this guitar a dreadnought?
Yes, that is 3 questions.
Is this guitar in the Road series?
No, it is not in the Road series.
Is this guitar in the remastered X series?
Yes, it is available. Well, I forgot about the whole. Yes, it is. It's available for sale, and I think it is part of the remastered X series as well. So it hasn't been discontinued.
You're tripping me up a little bit by saying you think. So, does this guitar have a HPL top?
No, this guitar does not have an HPL top. Very good guess. 6 questions.
Is this guitar a 6-string guitar?
No. Well, it has 6 strings on it.
Does this guitar have more than 6 strings on it? It'll make me buy another
Yes.
guess. Come on. Wow. Is this guitar the D2XE 12-string?
Yes, it is.
DX2E 12-string is another way to say that.
I wasn't going to penalize you, but now that you mentioned it. But yes,
Thank you. What made you pause about it still around?
I believe it's what they used to call a red herring. To distract you and possibly lead you down the wrong train of thought.
Well, that was a good try. I mean, I'll never beat your record now.
But
I'm honestly mad that happened.
first guess, that's like the 109-yard kick return.
Well, that's happened to me too. So I'm proud of you.
So yes, yeah, but I really like that 12-string a lot. I've never owned a 12-string. I always say it would be an extravagance for me. I would never use it enough, even though I love to play them and experiment with them and stuff. And for the price, with a solid top and very good string spacing, so I found it very easy to pick and even finger pick by 12-string standards. I thought that new X series with the new top, with the new beveled edge to the fretboard, the thinner 1930s thickness to the solid wood fingerboard and solid wood bridge and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I thought very successful model, particularly for the price.
Well, speaking of traveling, you were talking about NAMM, and there's something called the Tone Traveler. There's also something called the ToneRite. These devices are, I guess they're sold with the intention that they're going to give your guitar playing time when you're not able to. So if you play your guitar for a few hours, put it in the case, go on vacation, your guitar is going to fall back asleep. It's the whole science about how a guitar opens up from playing and vibration and the fact that it's moving. When you're playing your guitar, if I play my guitar every hour, every day for a week, Spoon has the same model in New York, and he's not playing his at all. Mine should sound more opened up than his after a week, after a month. That's the whole part of the whole debate. These two devices, the Tone Traveler and the ToneRite, are both manufactured to simulate guitar playing when you're not able to do it. And I haven't spent a lot of time on the Tone Traveler website, but I've seen the ToneRite. I've tried one in years and years ago. I think Marshall might have loaned me one of his, or there might have been one that like made the rounds. I'll try it, then you try it. I never did try the Tone Traveler, but first off, do you have any experience with either one of these, Spoon?
I do, actually. I own a ToneRite, and I actually have two of them because I have one that belongs to a friend right now as well. And I haven't utilized them in a long time because I haven't purchased a guitar. And I've not really used them to wake up guitars. My guitars don't tend to sit around too long to get sleepy, though that's, now that I think about it, my OOC 16 with the Sitka top has, and I thought, well, maybe while you were mentioning this, that maybe I should get out the ToneRite and put it on there. Because I'm going to be doing some string experiments, trying out some different strings that people have recommended. And so I was going to try them on mahogany and rosewood, so maybe I should get that guy out and wake him up. But I'll go back again to the very first Martin Fest. On the very first day, there was a fella there who had been on the forum, the unofficial Martin Guitar Forum, extolling the virtues of taking a massager, like something you would use to massage body parts, and it was something that had some kind of massager that had suction cups on it. And I don't know how that worked, but he was putting it on his tops to basically do exactly what we're talking about. And he absolutely swore that it improved a new guitar and basically helped break it in. And for many, many years, people used to say, when you buy a new guitar with that stiff top, you put it on a stand in front of your stereo speakers and you blast loud music and let it vibrate the top. And people would say that this really works. It replicates hours and hours of playing. I would go so far to say that when I got the ToneRite, when those finally came out, based on this folklore about this stuff, and people actually starting to do, research it. And I'm sure there were other products other than the ToneRite, but the ToneRite was the one that really took off. It was like the Model T that everybody bought. It's about the size of a deck of cards, but thicker and maybe not quite that big a footprint, with these grooves in it that basically fit where the strings fit, and it sits between the strings and on the bridge, and it basically vibrates the bridge. And you plug it in, and you're supposed to leave it on for a few hours just to make sure it didn't cause any harm. Like, I don't know, maybe your bridge isn't really glued on well enough or whatever. They always said to try it out and then leave it for like 48 hours. And I definitely heard a difference. It definitely did something to a new guitar. And people were saying it would also do it, like you said, wake up a guitar that's been sitting around. total big believer in sleepy guitars, particularly at least with Sitka spruce. Remember going into Mandolin Brothers and taking a OM-18 from the early 90s that had been sitting all the way up in the corner, literally covered with dust on the shoulders. And it sounded dead as a doornail when I first started playing it. And it wasn't my ears adjusting, or was it really waking up? But it really seemed to wake up. And I really liked it. And I took it off and I played it for like 2 hours in one of their private rooms and put it back where it was. And the week later, it had sold. So was it completely coincidental that somebody bought it? Or did I wake it up and somebody played it and it was, and it had, after sitting there unplayed for an unknown amount of time, did I contribute to that guitar being sold? I have no idea. But I would do, what I started doing with my guitars in the ToneRite is I started putting it into open G and running it on G, and I would put it in open A, and I put it in open D, and I put it in open E, and thinking that maybe it would help focus on those frequencies, because there would be times with these Martins, with these solid wood guitars, and I used it on my Collings back when I had a Collings and on the Bourgeois as well. Every so often you would hear this like spooky harmonic kind of ring would just show up. You could just kind of hear it going, just its slight overtone coming out of the guitar. And so I started putting in the open tunings, thinking that perhaps it would be help on the various specific frequencies. And I don't know if there was, I don't have any science to back that up, but that's how I used it. But like I said, I haven't actually got them out in a long time. So it would be interesting to experiment with that again and see. As for the Tone Traveler, I have never seen one, but it's a similar technology and actually looks like a fancier technology, though I've never seen it or, in person or put it to use. But
yeah, I seem to remember liking the ToneRite. I don't remember liking it enough that we didn't try to sell them. But at the same time, I don't remember giving it back to someone and saying, not for me. I probably had a cloudy opinion of it, and I wasn't terribly sure if I should be, extolling the virtues of it or if I should warn people not to do it. It was probably somewhere in the middle. I do believe in the idea of it. And if I do believe what you're saying, which I do, if you play the guitar a lot, it's going to sound better. How does the guitar know that it's a hand or, an electronic thing? So it shouldn't make a difference, and that means it should work. If anybody here watching on the YouTube version, please let us know in the comments. Do you have one? Do you know somebody who's used one? What are your thoughts on that whole idea, whether it's the ToneRite or the Tone Traveler? And more specifically, if you know that one is much better than the other, just for my own benefit, I'd love to see, somebody put some real research into print and let us know what you really think. I'm curious enough now that I do want to go locate a Tone Traveler within the next few months, even if I have to borrow one or try one with a return policy. But I'm curious. I have a lot of opportunities here while the inventory's still on the shelves. Take a 000 12E Koa, Tone Traveler one, play them both and do some A/B. The thing is, like you said, how do you really know what you're hearing? And if you played that one guitar at Mandolin Brothers and you woke it up, I'd love to know if someone else's ears could hear you playing, because those of you guys listening that are guitar players, you recognize that while you're playing something, it's a different sensation with your ears than if somebody's playing and you're not. So I'd really be curious to see how to quantify that. But my short answer would be that it should work, and I definitely don't have enough information to tell people not to go near them. If you want to try something like that, I think it'd be definitely worth your time.
Well, I know there's skeptics out there that say there's no such thing as a guitar opening up, but that's just simply not true. There's guitars that clearly sound better as they age, and I mean it's an established fact. And some of it comes from the environmental impact and a guitar slowly losing its inherent moisture and all those sorts of things that allow vintage guitars to sound the way they do. And that torrefaction, when they bake the tops, is supposed to replicate that same treatment over a much shorter period of time. But certainly playing it and getting the body vibrating and getting the glue joints vibrating and all those different pieces of wood exchanging energy over a long period of time, but most specifically the soundboard. Likewise, solid wood tops, mahogany tops, koa tops, walnut tops, they sound so much different after somebody's owned them and played them for like 2 years. And so and then decades later, some of the best sounding Martins are the ones that have koa tops from the 30s. And I can flat guarantee you they didn't sound anything like that when that koa, that really heavy, hardwood koa top was brand new. So yeah, I believe in the technology, but I also like the fact that I am aging my guitar, as it were, and breaking my guitar in, and it's getting used to my playing and reacting to how I play. But here's an experiment for people who are going to do this. There is, at least on guitars made with traditional dovetail neck joints like Gibson and Santa Cruz and Martin, there's what I call the dead man's note, what I've always called, which is on the A string. I believe it's at the 9th fret. You'll certainly find it because it's the thuddiest note that produces the least amount of sympathetic overtone from other strings. And the longer you play a guitar and the longer that note gets played, that breaks in and the guitar responds more to that frequency. I would be curious. I didn't do this myself, but I would be really curious to see if you took a brand new guitar that was not played very much and you really applied this technology. I would be curious to see if, as that top improves its tone because of this technology, does the dead man's note improve? Or is that something not specific enough and you have to really fret that note and really play it over and over and over and over for that frequency to really become enhanced by that instrument? But be curious if somebody else has the time and energy and wants to buy a new guitar and put it through that experiment. Get back to me in 6 months. I'd be curious to know.
And I wonder if they would tune more than one string to that. Is it, you say 9th fret on the bass?
I think it's the 9th. It's the 9th fret. It's either the 8th, 9th, or 10th fret on the A string. I'm pretty sure it's the A string 9th fret, but I don't remember. But I say dovetail neck joints, bolt-on guitars do not have that same. It's a phenomenon. Wow. Phenomenon that does not exist on bolt-on neck guitars. That note sounds much better. I've noticed this across multiple brands, but it's something about that construction that seems to have an enhanced, or whatever the opposite of an enhanced dead man's note would be. But
because I wonder if you capo at the 9th fret and do some tuning magic on the other strings to really make that note happen more than once, if that would hurry it too.
That's an interesting question.
Can you say dead man's note one more time?
Dead man's note.
It just sounded like something Western to me, and I don't get to use that sound effect that much anymore. So why don't we shoot right into the next topic before this episode's over? I did want to tell you that Martin has released 2 or 3 more episodes of From the Cage. And if you're a Backstage Access member on martinguitar.com, you've seen those episodes. I've seen a little bit of one of the episodes was Felix the Cat, the 2007 guitar, featuring artist Don Oriolo, and Dick Boak's in that episode as well. There's another episode called The Alien Guitar, where Tim Teal is on record saying that Area 51 exists. I knew it. And then Matt Ardinger, a gentleman that I actually got to meet through Tim Teal years and years ago, there's an episode where the Matt Ardinger Model 1 was talked about. And Matt briefly, the stuff that I saw, briefly talks about how you got interested in building guitars. That's all we'll say for now, because that's a program you really do need to become a Backstage Access member to see. So we're not going to come on a podcast and spoil everything and ruin the exclusivity. But except to say you really should go and consider joining, because I got to see 2 or 3 episodes before this in front to back. There was a really good one about the Hateful Eight guitar. It's just a really cool program. Floyd Herrera from Artist Relations is a co-host there, and it's a really well put together program. So if you haven't thought about doing that yet, but you want to see what the next episodes might be, that's what the ones are that I missed. And after this episode's over, I'll do some editing and I'll do some peeking at the Martin website, catch up on those episodes. But I don't know if you got to see those yet, Spoon?
No, I have not. It's been much of my life has not belonged to me in recent weeks, which is also part of the reason I'm so behind with my new 2024 Martin reviews and all that. But yeah, I remember Matt, and he was one of several people that Martin had collaborated with to make those kind of special models. And his by Martin standard was pretty progressive and futuristic, and had stuff like the fretboard markers were off to the side on the bass side, that sort of thing, and other interesting technology with the neck joint and all that. So, and of course Felix the cat, which is fondly thought of by some people, but is also the butt of many jokes by the sort of people that think everything should have a plain spruce top and basically be in size triple O or size D in mahogany or rosewood. But it really kicked off a lot of very fun Martin models that had those kind of tops. With interesting paint, the cowboy guitars and all those things that they went through over the showing off their ability to put artwork on top of them. I think perhaps my favorite of all those kind of arty tops was the Get Out the Vote, the David Crosby one that had the picture of the cross on it. So, but yes, I was never a big Felix the Cat fan. I think for people a little older than I am, he was a much bigger force in their comics life than he was for me. But the more the merrier when it comes to interesting guitars.
I'm more of a Peanuts and Woodstock and Snoopy guy, but that's for another show. Yeah.
Well, I still cherish my Peanuts Christmas ornaments that my sister got me. That is Snoopy playing an electric guitar with an amp and Woodstock standing on the amp. So I have that in my Christmas decorations. So
standing or dancing?
Well, Snoopy's kind of dancing and but Woodstock is I guess grooving up on the amp, big stack amplifier. So.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for this episode, but we can't get out of here without thanking our Patreon family very, very sincerely. It's you guys that are keeping us afloat. Those of you in the know that Maurysmusic is transitioning from music store to podcast, so we need sponsors. We need help. We were just this close to calling Sarah McLaughlin, having her doing like a sad puppy rescue video for us where, just 60 cents a day, and you can help a podcaster. All that kind of stuff. But kidding aside, it's the Patreon members that have kept us afloat, and we really do appreciate all you guys do. If you'd like to join, you can get really cool perks like early access to videos, behind the scenes, never seen before or rarely seen footage from our past. I know we put up a couple of pictures the very first day we ever met at NASFest, things like that. And then with these new NAMM releases, you're getting either early access to our footage, sometimes unedited footage, and whatever happens in the public eye, you get to see it early, so please consider heading that way. And if you're an Authentic Series member, you get to watch a video version of this podcast. Just Say No to Puppets is going to be a pretty cool catchphrase or hashtag soon, but you get to see the video eCam call where Spoon and I are literally recording this message before it gets chopped into pieces, put into puppets, and all that stuff. So if you want to see the behind-the-scenes kind of stuff, exclusive content, that's a really good reason to check it out. Or maybe you just want to help support the cause. Regardless, I won't speak for Spoon. I'll let him say it in his own way, but we're very, very grateful.
Well, I'm going to say it in my own way. I'm going to use my puppet voice. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Got some special video coming up from the NAMM models very soon.
It's not sock puppets, it's regular puppets.
Oh, sorry.
What he means is thank you.
Thank you for translating.
So we got another great episode coming up next week. It's so secret, even we don't know what it's about. But please tune in. We guarantee we're going to bring our A game. And there's always something new to talk about, whether it's Martins, whether it's more. We're dedicated to bringing you some fun content every single Monday. Please consider sharing this with a friend. And if you're so inclined, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We might even read your review on the air. This is where I would say one, but we haven't had one in weeks. From all of us at Martins and More, thanks for listening.
Hear you later.